So we already did Radha Madhav prayers, so I'll not do them again. So we'll just start off with the discussion. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. 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 Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaivam Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udirayet. Ashtaprayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Ruttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki. Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya Cha Nanda Gopakumaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, the Samam Bonam. Chapter 22, Krishna steals the garments of the unmarried gopis. Text 36. Iti pravala stabaka palapushpa dalotkaraihi tarunam namra shakhanam madhyato yamunam gataha. Translation. Thus, moving among the trees whose branches were bent low by their abundance of fruits, twigs, flowers and leaves, Lord Krishna came to the Yamuna river. Next text, 37. Tatra gaha payayitvapaha sumrishtaha shitala shivaha tatonripa swayam gopaha kamam swadu papurjalam. Translation. The cowherd boys let the cows drink the clear, cool and wholesome water of the Yamuna. O King Parikshit, the cowherd boys themselves also drank that sweet water to their full satisfaction. Text 38. Tasya upavane kamam charayantaha pashundripa Krishna Rama upagamya kshud arta idam abravan. Translation. Then, O King, the cowherd boys began herding the animals in a leisurely way within a small forest along the Yamuna. But soon they became afflicted by hunger and approaching Krishna and Balaram spoke as follows. Purport. Srila Jiva Goswami explains that the cowherd boys were concerned that Krishna would be hungry and thus they feigned their own hunger so that Krishna and Balaram would make suitable arrangements to eat. Thus end the Bhaktivedanta purports of the humble servants of His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, to the 10th canto, 22nd chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam entitled Krishna Steals the Garments of the Unmarried Gopis. And we move to chapter 23, text 1. Shri Gopa Uchu Rama Rama Mahabaho Krishna Dushta Nibarhana Esha vai badate kshunnas tachantim kartum arhatha. Translation. The cowherd boys said, O Rama Rama, mighty armed one, O Krishna, chastiser of the wicked, we are being harassed by hunger and you should do something about it. Purport. The cowherd boys jokingly implied that since Sri Krishna is the subduer of all bad things, the Lord should subdue their hunger by arranging for them to eat. In this statement by the cowherd boys, we observe the intimate loving friendship they enjoyed with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Om Ajnana Timirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guroho Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namine Gauratvishe Namaha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shrivasadi Gaura Bhakta Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Mukam karoti vachalam panghum langhayate girim yat kripa tamaham vande Shri Gurum Dinataranam. So, Hare Krishna everyone. Adipurush Prabhu, all the assembled Vaishnavas. Thank you for this wonderful opportunity for this seva of discussing Srimad Bhagavatam, the Amal Puran, and I seek blessings from all of you so that I can speak with humility, devotion, and in line with the Guru Parampara in the mood of service. Hare Krishna. So let me pull up my notes. Yeah, so just as a context to where we are, so Krishna has just completed the Leela of Vastraharan, the Leela of fulfilling the desires of the young girls of Vrindavan by stealing their clothes when they were bathing in the Yamuna. And the next pastime that is to come is of Krishna bestowing his mercy upon the wives of the Brahmanas. And the series of verses that we are discussing now are describing what happens in between these two pastimes. So Krishna is appreciating the trees here as the trees protect them from scorching heat and give them their soothing shades. Not only that, the trees provide mankind with so many necessities of life. Yeah, every part of the tree serves a purpose to some or the other species of life. So in the previous verse, the verse 35, Krishna draws a metaphor saying that just like trees, it is the duty of every living being to perform welfare activities for the benefit of others with his life, pranair, wealth, arthair, intelligence, dhiya, and words, vacha. So this is a very nice verse, and it is quoted in the Chaitanya Charitamrita as well. We'll read that section of Chaitanya Charitamrita where Mahaprabhu is talking about this, like he quotes this verse while addressing the various branches and sub-branches of the tree of devotional service. And yesterday, Narayani Mataji very nicely covered this verse in her class. So this concept of striving for the welfare of everyone is everywhere. It spans across all the Vedic literature. In the Bhagavad Gita also, Krishna says, Karmanaiva hi samsiddhim astita janakadaya lokasangraham evapi sampasham kartum arhasi. So this word lokasangraha. So the translation, kings such as Janaka attained perfection solely by performance of prescribed duties. Therefore, just for the sake of educating the people in general, you should perform your work. So this, whatever we do, we should, try to do as lokasangraha, as benefiting the people in general, is what Krishna is saying to Arjuna. And this theme is very commonly seen in all the Vedic scriptures. So yoga actually doesn't begin unless we have at least some amount of selflessness. Because there is a difference between karma kanda and karma yoga. So karma kanda is where we utilize the Vedic scriptures for our own benefit, for our own material desires. But when we add an amount of selflessness to it, in the sense that when we start accepting that, okay, there is some higher reality here to which I must be offering the fruits of my action. That time karma kanda turns into karma yoga. So this concept of selflessness is very essential when it comes to yoga. Yoga doesn't begin unless we accept that there is a higher truth. The nature of that higher truth is a different discussion. That will depend again on which rung of the yoga ladder one is at. But yoga itself doesn't begin unless we accept some sort of selflessness. Of course, not complete selflessness like Nishkama Karma Yoga, but some amount of selflessness. So that is Karma Kanda versus Karma Yoga. So the greatest welfare activity, of course, so the 35th verse says that everybody should perform welfare activities. So the greatest welfare activities or para upkar is giving Krishna to others. We all already must have heard or known this fact. So prema pumartho mahan. So artha it means something valuable, and prema pumartho mahan means prema or love of God is the greatest artha or the greatest valuable thing that anyone can have. And giving this greatest gift to others is what Mahaprabhu is urging us to do. And that is in Chaitanya Charitamrita. Of course, this theme again, the fact that giving Krishna consciousness to others is the greatest welfare activity comes across many, like it's a common theme in Prabhupada's books and also in the Vedic literatures. So, but we'll read a particular section from the Chaitanya Charitamrita where Mahaprabhu is urging us to do that. So this is that section. This is Adi Leela, chapter 9. And here we'll read from text 31. Lord Chaitanya thus addressed the multifarious varieties of branches and sub-branches of the tree of devotional service. So this is what Lord Chaitanya is saying. Since the tree of devotional service is transcendental, every one of its parts can perform the action of all the others. Although a tree is supposed to be immovable, this tree nevertheless moves. All the parts of this tree are spiritually cognizant, and thus they grow. As they grow, they spread all over the world. Now, this is important. I am the only gardener. How many places can I go? How many fruits can I pick and distribute? It would certainly be a very laborious task to pick fruits and distribute them alone. And I suspect that some would receive them and others would not. Therefore, I order every man within this universe, every woman as well within this universe, to accept this Krishna consciousness movement and distribute it everywhere. I am the only gardener. If I do not distribute these fruits, what shall I do with them? How many fruits can I alone eat? By the transcendental desire of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, water has been sprinkled all over the tree, and thus there are innumerable fruits of love of Godhead. Distribute this Krishna consciousness movement all over the world. Let people eat these fruits and ultimately become free from old age and death. If the fruits are distributed all over the world, my reputation as a pious man will be known everywhere, and thus all people will glorify my name with great pleasure. So let's go into the purport of 9.39. Here Prabhupada says, therefore, those who are actually servants of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu must seriously distribute this movement all over the world to render the greatest benefit to human society. Of course, animals and lower species are not capable of understanding this movement, but even if a small number of human beings take it seriously, then by their chanting loudly, all living entities, including even trees, animals, and other lower species, will be benefited. So kudos to our Harinam team. Thank you so much for doing this seva of loudly chanting the holy names for the benefit of everyone. So this is what Lord Chaitanya says, and he's instructing us, actually, he's requesting us humbly. He's actually, although he's unlimited, he's expressing his own limitedness in terms of distributing these fruits of love of God. And the fruits of love of God are interesting. It's like if I have an apple, if I have two apples, and if I give one apple to someone, then I am left with only one apple. But that does not work with spiritual calculations. In spiritual calculations, if I have the fruit of love of God, and if I distribute it to others, actually the fruits that I have increase, they become multifold. So that is the wonderful part about the fruits of bhakti. So anyway, continuing to today's set of verses, 10, 22, 36, this is what Shukdev Goswami says. Thus moving among the trees whose branches were bent low by their abundance of twigs, fruits, flowers, and leaves, Lord Krishna came to the Yamuna river. So a nice lesson can be drawn here. I was hearing this long ago, that when a person is abundant with the fruits of love for Krishna, he or she is bent low in the sense that he or she is humble. So we see in our entire Guru Parampara that so many acharyas came, Within their hearts, they were experiencing the deepest fruits of love of God. But in their personal dealings, they were very, very humble. In fact, one of the 6 limbs of surrender in Bhakti is known as Karpanya, or humility. So, Anukulyasya Sankalpa Pratikulyasya Varjanam Rakshishyati iti Vishwaso Gopatritve Varnam Tatha Atmanikshepa Karpanye Shadvida Sharanagatihi. So, these are the 6 limbs of surrender that Rupa Goswami writes about. And the prayers of, like for instance, the prayers of 6 Goswamis written by Srinivas Acharya describes them as Atyanta Deenau Chayo, extremely meek and humble. So the 6 Goswamis are our Siddhanta Acharyas. They have systematized the teachings of Lord Chaitanya, and they are setting the example of the mode of humility as well. And this humility is also, it indicates the real symptom of spiritual progress. So the real symptom of spiritual progress is not that I am able to quote verses, or I have gained a lot of knowledge, or I have many followers, for instance, or people are glorifying me. No, that is not the real symptom of spiritual progress. The real symptom is how humble am I becoming. So how humble I am before the Lord and the Vaishnavas. If my spiritual practice is ending up making me proud, then I must reorient my thought process with the help of my spiritual guides. So I remember when I had just started practicing bhakti, I had this smug pride in me. And when my brother, who is my ardent well-wisher, he would ask me questions or he would object to my practice of bhakti, I would just smirk at him, that smile that you do only on one side, to show that, you're proud and whatnot. So I would think, what can I explain to this fallen conditioned soul? He won't understand my explanations, because spirituality is rare, right? Spirituality is rare, and those who practice spirituality are rare. And I am one of those rare people, right? I had this kind of pride in me. And because of this kind of prideful behavior towards him, he actually became very, he got the wrong idea about the devotees of Krishna. And because of that, he might have been even pushed away from Krishna. If I would have been more humble in my behavior towards him, and this humble behavior is actually what the principles of bhakti dictate. But somehow I was overcome by pride, and I'm still overcome by pride. So, but if I would have been more humble towards him, then maybe he could have, been more favorable. His heart would have opened up more towards the practice of bhakti. So the essential point is that the more I practice bhakti sincerely, the more I will realize the greatness of Krishna's love, the more I will realize the greatness of Krishna's devotees. And as a result, I will realize my own insignificance. And this will end up making me humble if I actually accept my own insignificance. So, and it doesn't have to be even simple humility, you don't even have to add Krishna to, just simple humility can attract one to Krishna. This nice example I was hearing a few days ago. During one of the Rath Yatras in Mumbai, what happened was the Rath, it hit a car on the street. It hit a car, and this car was like a Mercedes or something. It hit a car, and then it created a dent. Now the devotee who was in charge, he was wondering what to do. Okay, he didn't want to leave it as is, because that would be unfair, he thought. So he wrote a small note. He wrote that, okay, I am the organizer of the Rath Yatra, which is going on currently, and the Rath actually hit your car and created a dent. So, but right now we need to move ahead with the Rath. We can't wait here for you. So please, this is my number, take my number. When you come here, just give us a call. We will make sure to pay for the damages, and sorry for this. He just wrote a small note, and then he put it there on the car, and the Rath Yatra continued. And then after a few days, this devotee gets a call from this person. He said, when I read that note that you put, I thought, wow, this is what Krishna devotees are. And if this is what Krishna devotees are, know that you don't have to pay me back anything for the damages done. And moreover, I'll be a donor for the future Rath Yatras that you do. So this simple humility actually attracted the heart of this person. And I mean, the devotee could have walked away, right? And at that point of time, nobody, like hardly there were any other non-devotees on the street that day to actually see and complain as to what happened. So he could have easily walked away. But that simple act of leaving that note there touched the heart of this person. And he became a donor. He came closer to Krishna. So just like electricity flows from a point of high voltage to a point of low voltage, just like rivers flow from high mountains to the lower plains, similarly, the current of bhakti can flow seamlessly from Guru and Krishna when we cultivate humility, when we accept our lower position in front of Guru and Krishna and the Vaishnavas. That time the flow of bhakti is very seamless, and that can actually transform us. So a lot can be said about humility, as that is one of the cardinal verses of Gaudiya Vaishnavism. Trinadapi shunichena tarorapi sahishnuna amanina manadena kirtaniya sadahari. So we often quote this verse. We are told to wear this verse as our neck beads when we practice bhakti, when we chant. So a lot can be said about humility. So, and thus only when we have humility, when we are humble or trying to be humble, we can serve and chant in a sustained way. And then moving on to the next verse 37. Here it says how the cows as well as the gopas and Krishna, they drink the sweet water of the Yamuna and quench their thirst. So this verse talks about another devotee of the Lord that gives much pleasure to the Lord and the Vrajavasis and assists in the Leelas of Krishna, and that is Yamuna Devi. So there are so many glories about Yamuna Devi. We will not go into too much details about her, but she flows eternally in Golok Vrindavan and is so dear to Radharani that Radharani wasn't ready to accompany Krishna to the material world unless Krishna assured her that Yamuna, Govardhan and the Vrindavan Dham, they are also descending along with her. Only then she agreed, okay, I will come with you. So in this material world, she appears as the daughter of Surya Dev and the sister of Yamaraj. So Yamaraj and Yamuna Devi are actually twins, siblings. So it is interesting to see how two siblings who are both pure devotees of the Lord, of course, both are Paramhamsa Mahabhagavat, but they have seemingly opposing sevas. So Yamaraj is in charge of giving everyone their share of reactions. But on the other hand, Yamuna Devi destroys the reactions of those who bathe in her. So this is a really interesting thing that I was contemplating on. And Rupa Goswami has written a wonderful prayer, Yamunashtakam, glorifying Yamuna Devi. So when Lord Chaitanya used to bathe in the Yamuna, he used to recite the following prayer. And this comes in the Chaitanya Chandrodaya Natak by Kavi Karanapur. I'll not read the Sanskrit, I'll just read the translation. O river Yamuna, you are the blissful spiritual water that gives love to the son of Nanda Maharaj. You are the same as the water of the spiritual world, for you can vanquish all our offenses and sinful reactions incurred in life. You are the creator of all auspicious things for the world. O daughter of the sun god, kindly purify us by your pious activities. So in this way, Yamuna Devi is very nicely assisting the Lord and his devotees in their wonderful pastimes, and just like so many other great souls. So I want to come back to this point of assisting in the teaching mission, distributing the love of Krishna that Lord Chaitanya was talking about, distributing the fruits of devotional service to others. So if we actually think about it, giving Krishna consciousness to others, bringing them closer to Krishna, giving them some sort of exposure so that their hearts can open up to Krishna, is actually the Leela of Lord Chaitanya, because that was an important part of his mission in this world. So Lord Chaitanya's Leela is filled with so many pastimes where he delivered, even people like Jagai and Madhai. So this is the Leela of Lord Chaitanya. And when we, on a personal level, try to be instruments of his compassion under the guidance of our spiritual master, we are actually assisting the Lord in his Leela. So we have this wonderful opportunity to assist the Lord in his direct Leela. So that is the direct Leela of Lord Chaitanya. And in the Guruvashtakam, we pray, right? We just sang very nicely. Nikunja ratikeli siddhe yayali bhi jukti apekshaniya. Tatrati dakshat gati vallabhasya vande guroshri charana arvindam. So this verse says that the Guru is expert in assisting the gopis in making various tasteful arrangements for the perfection of Radha and Krishna's conjugal loving affairs in the grooves of Vrindavan. So one disciple asked Prabhupada, and I'm paraphrasing this. So one disciple asked Prabhupada, wow, Prabhupada, this is such a nice verse. So does this mean that I will get to assist you in in the grooves of Vrindavan, in making tasteful arrangements for Radha and Krishna's pastimes? And it's interesting what Prabhupada said. Prabhupada said, yes, but that is in the spiritual world. In the material world, you should assist me in preaching. So very interesting and deep, the words of Prabhupada. It is said that the love that a soul has for Krishna manifests as compassion for all living beings. So therefore, the pure devotees, when they see, so they are so absorbed in Krishna that they see everything and everybody in relation to Krishna. So when they see that somebody is forgetful of Krishna, their heart fills up with compassion. They want to give Krishna to everyone. So that is the compassion. They have love for God, but that love for God translates as compassion in the material world, for the living beings in the material world. Therefore, Mahaprabhu, who is Krishna in the mood of Radharani, he appeared in this world. He exhibited the highest level of compassion. So in fact, each one of us here is a fortunate beneficiary to that compassion and mercy. So that's why Mahaprabhu is described by Rupa Goswami as Mahavadanyaya, or the most munificent. So that is so it's like Radharani is the epitome of devotional service, the summit of devotional service. So consequently, she's also the epitome of compassion for living beings. So that is why when Mahaprabhu appears in the mood of Radharani, he also exhibits that summit of compassion for everyone. So we as infinitesimal jivas should then try to assist in this unlimited ocean of mercy, which is manifesting in our lives through our Guru, right? The first verse of, again, Guru Ashtakam. Samsara dava nalalida loka tranaya karunya ghana ghanatvam praptasya kalyana gunarnavasya vande guru shri charnarvindam. So there is the ocean of mercy, that is the Lord. And then the Guru is like the cloud of mercy. He takes that mercy, he is in connection with that ocean of mercy, and then he bestows that mercy upon everyone by showering his merciful rains. So that is the Guru. And that is what Lord Chaitanya is urging us all to do in the set of verses of the Adi Leela that we saw in the beginning. And then finally, the verse 38, the last verse of this chapter, and the first verse of the next chapter is the beginning of the pastime where Krishna delivers the wives of the Brahmanas. So they are coming and expressing their hunger to Krishna. They hadn't had breakfast that morning, so they were very hungry. And Prabhupada of course quotes Jiva Goswami, who writes that the Gopas were actually concerned that Krishna would be hungry. So they were feigning their own hunger so that Krishna and Balaram would make some arrangements. But in any case, it's a well-known fact. Nityo nityanam chaitanas chaitananam eko bahunamyo vidadhati kaman. So the supreme whole fulfills the desires or maintains the infinitesimal parts of parts and parcels. That is us, all the jivas. So whether we accept it or not, Krishna is actually maintaining us. So Gatir Bharta Prabhu Sakshi Nivasa Sharanam Surit Prabhava Prayasthanam Nidanam Bijam Avyam. So he's maintaining all of us. He's maintaining the entire creation. The entire creation rests on him. But then this is an interesting thing. He doesn't reveal that fact to us unless we want to sincerely accept it. So that is the wonderful thing about Krishna's maintenance. So being a conditioned soul, when my family members come to me and say, wow, thank you, you did so much for us, you are maintaining us or whatnot, I feel very nice and proud. That selfish pride is there in me. But Krishna is not like that. He's a selfless maintainer. If he sees that we are not ready to accept his role in our lives, then he mercifully covers us so that we can't perceive him. Naham prakasha sarvasya yogamaya samavritah. So we wonder many times why Krishna is covering us, why Krishna is putting so many souls into illusion, because that is what the desire of those souls is. So if we want to coast along the waves of illusion, Krishna says, no worries, continue doing that by all means. But as soon as we are ready to turn towards Krishna, what does he do? Karmani nirdahati kintucha bhakti bhajam. He destroys all our karmic reactions and gradually brings us closer to him. And in order to do this, he sends a guru, who Krishna himself acts as the Chaitya Guru in our heart, as the Paramatma. And when we are ready to turn towards him, he sends the external guru, who is our spiritual master, like Prabhupada, who came to give Krishna consciousness to the Western world. And these gurus and Vaishnavas, they in turn take us to Krishna. So this way, Krishna maintains us very nicely. And we will see in the pastime that is to come of Krishna delivering the Brahmana Patnis, very beautiful pastime. And this is all I had to share. If I made any mistakes, corrections, please, I'm happy to receive feedback. And thank you so much for being here, Hare Krishna. If anybody wants to share any reflections, there is Adipurush Prabhu here.
Okay, Hare Krishna, wonderful class, gosh. And of course, yourself coming through in that class. We love to hear your the points you made about how important it is to give Krishna consciousness, and how your own attempt to share with your brother was ineffective at one point because you were a little bit having contempt, and it didn't work without humility. I had a similar experience. My brother, years ago, very inimical to Krishna consciousness. Just to give you an example, Radha Swami brought this one college student that he'd been cultivating for 6 months, and the boy moved into the Columbus temple, shaved up, dhoti, going to the morning program, chanting rounds, very deeply committed to immersion in Krishna consciousness. And then one day I was there and I got a letter from my brother. So I read the letter, and it was so critical of Krishna consciousness that this young boy, he said, "Can I see your brother, letter from your brother?" I said, yeah. So he read the letter. He put the letter down, went to his room, took off his dhoti, put on a pair of jeans, and moved out of the temple. Wow. Just reading, just a few minutes of the toxic criticism that my brother dumped on through the letter, So, but Krishna is so kind that when I tried to preach to him, I tried without humility, like you said. And I told him, Jesus said, "I come not with a fig leaf, but with a sword," because what I have to say will separate father from son and brother from brother. So Krishna humbled me because I wasn't humble, and he said to me, "Brother, it's not a fig leaf. A fig leaf is what they cover the genitals with, the naked statues. It's a olive branch. It's not a fig leaf." So he made my attempt at preaching look ridiculous, But I'll tell you something. This year again, my brother gave a $500 donation for Krishna's prasad distribution for the homeless. So by Krishna's grace, Krishna is so wonderful that even people that are totally beyond the range of our ridiculous attempt to share with them, gradually by Krishna's grace, he became appreciative and even supportive. So, but you're right. We can't distribute it without humility. And humility means I'm so fallen, but Krishna is so wonderful. I'm so fallen, but Krishna is so wonderful that he can even help a pudding-head like me to do something in Krishna's service. Anyway, thank you very much for sharing that. Well, glories to Srila Prabhupada.
I don't know what time it is. Before we still have 6 minutes for darshan, opening time. If there are any comments. Yes, Andrea Mataji. Hare Krishna, nice to see you.
Hare Krishna, Jagannath. Gopal Prabhu, it's nice to see you as well. I just wanted to thank you for being so honest and sharing as well that pastime about you and your brother. I feel like a lot of times when people give class, we don't get a sense of them or who they are really before they came to the class, in terms of their frailties and the things that they have done wrong, and the fact that you were willing to kind of show your warts and all in terms of how that happened is very yeah, it's very welcoming because it makes us all realize that we've all had those points and that it can happen. I also really appreciate the idea that our own humility can either open or close people's hearts to Krishna, and how we can go about doing that. I love when you quote the Sanskrit verses, and with that in mind, the only feedback that I would have is if you could please, when you quote a verse, always mention like where it's from, because there was like a Sanskrit verse at one point that you said really beautifully, and then you went right into the English explanation, but I don't know what verse that was. Just for those of us that are still learning, like trying to memorize verses and everything, it always helps to know, because that way I can see like, oh, like this verse, Jagannath Gopal Prabhu keeps quoting, and then somebody else in another class quoted, so that should be a verse that I should add to my list to memorize, because that's obviously like a really good verse to use. So that's my only feedback, and I feel even embarrassed saying it, so I apologize. I don't mean any offense. I really, really do love your classes, and I really appreciate, again, like how honest and forthgiving you were in terms of what happened with your brother. So thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji. I'll be sure to work on that. Yes, thank you.
See, Jagannath Gopal, this is the quality of our listeners. Andrea. Okay, where is Gaurakumar? There he is. Gaurakumar Prabhu, did Jagannath Gopal make any mistakes in his presentations? Have any corrections?
Hare Krishna Prabhu, thank you so much. I mean, I really loved the class. No mistakes at all. Jagannath Gopal Prabhu is a very humble sage, and we really love him. And thank you for letting us attend this class. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Nice, nice. Guru Kumar Prabhu is a saintly person. I remember I heard a story about him where there was like a meeting where the brahmacharis and devotees were discussing their life before bhakti, like Andrea mentioned briefly. And everybody was confessing their sins. And Guru Kumar took floor and he said, I ate garlic. You know, devotees were telling, I was on drugs, you know, I was into crime, I was doing this and that. And Guru Kumar said, I ate garlic and onion. With so much repentance in his voice. Right? Is that right? Is that accurate, Guru Kumar Prabhu?
Yeah, probably.
You're very, very sinful. Okay. I heard, I saw someone's hand. Who was it? Justy. Justy. Come back, Justy, please. Justy is a sage. It's coming from her previous lives.
Oh,
sure.
Thank you, Ananda. I want to read something, but I guess that we have 2 minutes before 8 o'clock, so I can wait before after we show Krishna and we celebrate her, right? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you want to read a whole chapter of something, Justy?
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah. A little piece. It's not that
long. We'll give you 3 minutes. We'll give you 3 minutes.
Oh, okay, okay. Yeah.
Maybe you can paraphrase Justy. Maybe you can paraphrase and add your own
okay.
insight.
I will select the best parts, right?
Yeah, the cream of the crop. Yeah.
Yeah, like that. Because one day, like we were talking about humility and to be humble, right? And one day someone shared with me this text, and I want to share it as well. Yeah. So he who eats to the Lord, for he gives God thanks. And he who does not eat to the Lord, he does not eat and gives God thanks. For if we live to the Lord. And if we die to the Lord. So then each of us shall give account of himself to God. Therefore, let us not judge one another anymore, but rather resolve this, not to put a stumbling block or a cause to fall in our brother's way. Yet, if your brother is grieved because of your food, you are not longer walking in love. Do not destroy with your food the one for whom Christ died. Do not destroy the work of God for the sake of food. All things indeed are pure, but it is evil for the man who eats with offense. So happy is the person and he who does not condemn himself in what he approves. I read this text that someone was sharing with me because it's related to be humble, and that is one of the topics that we were talking about today. And that was reminding me some situations where we can forget sometimes that every of us that we have around, brothers and sisters, we can give them love and keep following what Krishna wants for us, right? We follow the Lord and we love the
Jesse,
Lord.
that was beautiful.
Thank you.
That was
Oh,
beautiful. And you really embody those verses. Please put the link in the chat, okay? Everybody wants to know.
okay.
Andrea wants to put it on the wall.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
I think Jagannath Gopal Prabhu has his thing on blur, so we're not going to be able to see the deities unless he blurs.
No, we have Jamuna Jaya. She'll back us up. Her vision is clear. Oh, there they are. Okay.
Haribol, thank you.
Cameras on, please. Cameras on, if you can. Okay, thank you very much. Yeah, Andrea, you so wonderfully put it. We love the darshan of devotees. Jagannath Gopal Prabhu, great class, by the way. Thank you. Tell your brother we say hello. Is he a devotee now?
No, I mean,
No, just
not
you?
not as per our definition of a devotee.
Okay,
But
so you have to work twice as hard.
yeah, I have to be twice as humble,
Yeah.
maybe 10 times as humble. So
Yeah. Thank you, Jagannath Gopal Prabhu. Great presentation.
thank you everyone. Thank you so much.
All right. Trista, did you put the link in the chat? Oh yeah, there it is. Okay. All right.
Actually, just
Any?
1 second, Prabhuji.
Yes, Prabhu.
Maybe a question for the future in CCD. What does it mean to become free from old age and death? Clearly cannot be material old age and death. So yeah, I'll note this question down. It's a question from Karthik.
No, tell him he needs the answer now. He wants to be liberated now.
Okay.
Tell him.
So what does it mean to become free from old age and death? Clearly cannot be material old age and death. Well, it does mean material old age and death because the idea is that when we get liberated, when we get situated in our constitutional position, we are not affected by the material frailties anymore. And the top material frailties or problems are the top 4 are actually birth, old age, disease, and death. So yeah, it does mean living an eternal life after we attain spiritual perfection. So yeah, it does mean material old age and death. I don't know if that's what you asked, Karthik.
Yeah, thank you. I guess it means we are not born again and again in this cycle of birth and death. Is that what you're saying?
Sorry. Yeah, I mean, yeah, we are not the body, but it takes some practice to realize that we are not the body. So that is when we'll actually go beyond old age and death. Like Krishna says, Dehinosmin yatha dehe, right? In the 2nd chapter of Bhagavad Gita, he says these changing bodies are like changing clothes. Yeah. These changing bodies are like changing clothes, and at death, that is just another transformation. And a sober person is not bewildered by such a change. So that actually, in one sense, means to become free from old age and death. And that it also happens factually in the sense that when we attain perfection and go back to Godhead, we are no more afflicted by time, because time is time doesn't exist there in its debilitating nature. It's eternal. Everything is eternal in the spiritual world. So that is the understanding. So
Thank you so much.
thank you.
Karthik Prabhu, even if you take another birth, please continue coming to the morning class and doing service. That's important.
I will. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay. Any questions, reflections? This is the afterglow, the darshan of devotees. It's a new term. Andrea coined it. Darshan of devotees, darshan of Krishna, and darshan of devotees. Everybody's turning their cameras on if they can, including Pinky Yogi, maybe one day. All right. Yeah, Rameshwar Rao, Karthik. Yeah, there you are, Karthik. Liberated from birth and death by attending class every day. Venetia and Whiskey Das. Where is he? There he is. Okay, Whiskey Prabhu, Hare Krishna. Did you like the class? We take it as a yes. All right. Okay, have a wonderful Saturday, everybody. Give it to Krishna and come back tomorrow. We love you all dearly. Big Kijai goes to Jagannath Gopal Prabhu and to every one of you. Thank you. Hare Krishna.